My name is Nadia Okafor. I'm 36 years old. I'm a licensed mortgage broker based in Atlanta, Georgia. I've spent the last 12 years helping other people secure their futures, their homes, their investments, their financial stability. The one person I could never protect myself from was my own sister. Her name is Simone. She's 2 years younger than me, and for most of my life, I loved her the way you love someone who has always just been there. Like breathing, like gravity, like something you never think to question because it's simply part of how the world works. I don't love her like that anymore. This is the story of how I found out who she really was, what she took from me, and exactly how I got it back. Our mother, Gloria Okafor, immigrated from Nigeria to the United States in 1987 with $40, a single suitcase, and a determination that I have genuinely never seen matched in another human being. She worked double shifts as a nursing aide for 11 years before getting her RN license. She bought her first property, a small duplex in Decatur, Georgia, in 1999, then a second one in 2003, then a third in 2007. By the time Simone and I were teenagers, our mother owned 5 rental properties outright. No mortgages, no partners, just decades of sacrifice stacked into something real. She always said the same thing at the dinner table. I am not building this for me. I am building this for you both. Equal. Always equal. I believed her. More importantly, I believed in the word equal. I should have paid closer attention to what happened to that word over time. I left Atlanta at 22 for a finance program in Charlotte. Worked hard, got licensed, built my career from the ground up. I visited home every holiday, sent money when my mother needed a roof repaired or an appliance replaced, called every Sunday without fail. Simone stayed in Atlanta. Stayed close to home. Stayed close to Mom. At the time, I thought that was simply the difference between us. I was the one who left to build something. She was the one who stayed to be present. Neither path was wrong. They were just different. That's what I told myself for 14 years. My mother was diagnosed with early onset dementia in the spring 3 years ago. 61 years old, sharp as a blade her whole life, and then suddenly struggling to remember what day it was, repeating herself mid-sentence, leaving the stove on twice in 1 week. It was devastating. The kind of news that doesn't just break your heart, it reorganizes your entire understanding of time, of how much you have left with someone, of what actually matters. I flew home immediately. Simone and I sat together at the kitchen table, the same table we'd eaten at our whole lives, and we talked about what came next. Mom needs someone here full-time, Simone said. I know, I said. I'll contribute financially to whatever she needs, and I'll come home as often as I can. I'll handle the day-to-day, Simone said. The appointments, the medications, the properties. I looked at her. The properties? Someone needs to manage them, Nadia. Collect the rent, handle the tenants, coordinate repairs. Mom can't do it anymore. She was right. I knew she was right, and honestly, it made sense. She was there. I wasn't. So we agreed, verbally, casually, the way sisters agree on things when they still trust each other completely, that Simone would manage the properties on Mom's behalf, and we would figure out the formal arrangements once Mom's condition was more stable. That was my first mistake. Trusting a verbal agreement with someone who had already started planning around it. For the first year, everything seemed fine. Simone sent me occasional updates. Tenants were paying on time. One property needed a new water heater. Mom was stable, comfortable, well cared for. I sent money regularly, not because anyone asked me to, but because it felt right. 1,500 here, 2,000 there. Flights home every few months. I was contributing. I was showing up. I thought we were a team. Then, about 18 months in, something small snagged my attention. My mother's accountant, a man named Bernard who had handled her finances for over 20 years, called me out of the blue one afternoon. He was retiring, he said, and wanted to make sure I had everything I needed before he handed things off. What do you mean, everything I need? I asked. "The records, the statements, the property accounts," he said. "Though I have to say, most of it moved over to the new account about a year ago. I assumed you knew." I did not know. "What new account?" I asked. Bernard got quiet in the way people get quiet when they realize they've said something they weren't supposed to. He gave me the name of a property management LLC, registered in Georgia. I wrote it down, thanked him, hung up the phone, and opened my laptop. The LLC was registered under one name, Simone Okafor. Not Simone and Nadia, not Gloria Okafor, just Simone. Sole owner, sole operator. All 5 properties listed as assets under management, rent collection flowing directly into a business account I had no access to and no knowledge of. I sat very still for a long time. Then I called our mother's estate attorney. What I found over the next 3 weeks made my stomach turn. Simone had not just been managing the properties, she had been repositioning them. 11 months earlier, she had obtained a power of attorney over my mother's financial affairs. My mother, who was by that point significantly cognitively impaired, had signed documents that a notary, later confirmed to be a friend of Simone's, had certified as properly executed. With that power of attorney, Simone had transferred the titles of 2 of the 5 properties into the LLC. She had been collecting rent on all 5 for over a year, roughly $14,000 per month, depositing it into the business account and reporting a fraction of it to the family accountant before Bernard retired. She had also applied for a $200,000 home equity line of credit against one of the properties. The application was in progress. In total, between diverted rental income, the 2 title transfers, and the pending credit line, my sister had positioned herself to walk away with somewhere between $600,000 and $800,000 of an estate that was supposed to be split equally between us. And our mother had no idea. She smiled when I visited. She called me her good girl. She asked me if I'd eaten. She had no idea what was happening in her own name. I did not call Simone. I know that's what most people would do first. Confront her, demand an explanation, give her a chance to talk her way out of it or cry her way through it. But I know my sister. I have known her my entire life. And I knew that the moment she realized I was onto her, things would move fast. Documents would disappear, accounts would shift, lawyers would be called. So I moved first. I hired an estate litigation attorney named Carol Vance, 52 years old, 26 years of experience, the kind of woman who speaks in complete sentences and never raises her voice because she doesn't need to. I also hired a forensic accountant, because yes, I know what they do, and yes, I know exactly how much damage a good one can cause. Within 3 weeks, we had filed for emergency guardianship of my mother, citing her cognitive condition and documented evidence of financial exploitation. The court granted a temporary freeze on all property transactions tied to her estate, including the pending credit line. The power of attorney Simone had obtained was challenged on the grounds that my mother lacked the legal capacity to execute it at the time of signing. The notary, when deposed, admitted she had not followed proper verification procedures. The power of attorney was invalidated. The 2 property titles that had been transferred into Simone's LLC were flagged for reversal pending full investigation. And the rental income, 14 months of it, became the subject of a formal accounting demand. Later, the 2 property titles were returned to my mother's estate. The rental income was fully accounted for, and Simone was required to repay $158,000 in diverted funds, money she had to borrow against her own personal assets to return. The LLC was dissolved. A professional, independent property manager was appointed to oversee the estate going forward. My mother was placed under proper legal guardianship, shared equally between me and an independent guardian appointed by the court. Every financial decision regarding her estate now requires dual approval. Simone did not face criminal charge. Carol advised me that civil recovery was faster, cleaner, and more certain. I agreed. I wasn't after punishment. I was after restoration. I got it. I moved back to Atlanta 6 months ago, transferred my license, opened a small office, built a new client base. I'm close to my mother now in a way I wasn't before, and I'm ashamed it took a crisis to get me here. She has good days and hard days. On her good days, she still talks about the duplex she bought in 1999, how proud she was, how much she sacrificed. On those days, I sit with her and I listen to every word. I owe her that. Simone and I have not spoken since the settlement. I don't know if we ever will. There are people who make mistakes and people who make choices. What Simone did wasn't a moment of weakness or poor judgment. It was a plan. Slow, deliberate, built over months while our mother's mind was fading and my back was turned. I don't hate her. Hate takes energy I'd rather spend elsewhere. But I will never trust her again, and I am completely at peace with that. People ask me what the lesson is. They want something clean, something quotable, something that wraps it up neatly. Here's what I've got. Your family is not automatically your safe place just because they share your blood. Love is not the same as loyalty. And proximity, being the one who stays, the one who shows up, the one who handles things, does not give anyone the right to help themselves to what was never theirs. My mother built something from nothing so that both of her daughters could stand on solid ground. One of us forgot that. The other one made sure the ground was still there. The properties are still in the family, all 5 of them, equal, always equal, just like Mom always said.